Hey you, hey footy fans, time for a bit more footy fun with FootyFin, and continuing on here with some chat about the Rugby World Cup. Now we're into quarter-finals week. And look, I just want to go over and actually mostly critique a few things from my observations over the last 5 weeks. But before I get into that, I will say there are a few positive stories here. Fiji have made it through to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2007. Well done, Fiji. Portugal have impressed many. They drew with Georgia. And then, ironically, despite Fiji getting through to the quarters, they upset Fiji by 1 point in the last match of the pool stages. And that's caused a bit of a buzz. That's a good news story. So well done, Portugal. Chile have played in their first ever Rugby World Cup. Sadly, they didn't manage to score a competition point on the table at least, but well done, Chile, and hope to see you again. Speaking of not scoring any points on the competition table, of the 4 pools, 3 of them, the bottom place team ended on 0 table points, and only one of them, Georgia, got just a 1 point from that draw with Portugal. Anyway, some good news stories. It's not all doom and gloom, but look, it's not great either, okay? And I want to run over a few things that, in my point of view, have not been, are not exactly positives for this Rugby World Cup. Let me say, yes, I am Australian. I'm a Wallaby supporter first and foremost. It's actually not sour grapes about Australia. I mean, they got their just desserts and they're on their way home. Okay, so first of all, World Rugby have kind of controlled, exerted what I think's over the top excessive levels of control on the footage, such that on YouTube, on either the Rugby World Cup channel or on the particular national broadcasters channel, we only get 3 minutes of highlights. Now, on the Rugby World Cup channel itself, which I totally stopped watching after a couple of games, and the reason for that was that they give away the result in the title. So there's absolutely no surprise. And you can even tell if you don't read the title words, you can see from the still thumbnail that they show which teams won. And that's absolutely ridiculous. So here in Australia, I started watching Stan Sport channel instead. They don't do that. Also on the Rugby World Cup channel, they don't give any replays of tries from any other angles. At least say the Stan Sport do that. But again, the Stan Sport's limited to just 3 minutes. And that's including, different angle replays of tries. So nowhere near enough. In my view, it's just no way to promote the game at all. If I'm comparing it here as a fan here in Australia to the FIFA World Cup and the coverage of that and what you can see on free-to-air television, there's no comparison. FIFA wins hands down. Another negative for me is this use of away uniforms in a number of games. To me, it's just ridiculous. So in Wales, Portugal, so Wales should be a red shirt with white pants. Portugal's the more maroony red shirt and I think green pants or white. Thing is, I don't even know because they mix and match the uniforms so much. Anyway, Wales played Portugal. Wales were wearing a freaking black uniform with yellow trim, and Portugal were wearing a white shirt with green shorts. So neither of them got to wear their regular colour. That's ridiculous. South Africa played Ireland. Of course, Ireland are more of an emerald green or a bit more of a limey minty green in this one. South Africa are that dark bottle green. For some reason, they couldn't wear this. So they were kitted out in more like the away strip that Portugal wore against Wales, which could easily be an Irish strip, which was basically a white shirt and some sort of minty green type shorts. Ridiculous. And then, for example, the last game that Argentina played against Japan just yesterday, Australian time, they were in black and red when they should be in the sky blue and white. So to me, there's just no need for this. It's a soccer thing, a football, a FIFA type thing, and it's ridiculous. Okay. Another negative, sorry to harp on here, but it was very drawn out, okay? They decided to go with pools of 5 teams. That meant each team had a bye. Not a bad thing in itself, but there were really no midweek games, okay? Maybe the occasional Thursday evening game in Europe, but it was made for a very boring, drawn out over 5 weekends, and a lot of downtime in between. No teams have made the quarterfinals for the first time. As I said, Fiji made it 2007. Of the 8 quarterfinalists this year, there's absolutely no team that's never made it before. And then as far as I'm concerned, World Rugby should be looking at questions like the 6 nations. So Italy, it used to be the 5 nations. Italy joined the 6 nations basically a quarter of a century ago, yet they've never, ever made the knockout stages of a Rugby World Cup, the quarterfinals. That's a big question for World Rugby to answer. And in the meantime, teams like Georgia and Portugal are being frozen out of the comp. So World Rugby need to look at these sort of things. And then for me, 2 other things. Massive winning margins. Really boring. We're seeing teams put 96-0, you know, the likes of South Africa, New Zealand up against the likes of Namibia, Romania. And here's an interesting thing. So people talk about the Rugby World Cup being far superior tournament to the Rugby League World Cup. If we look at the winning margins from the pool stages, or the margins, this year in Rugby World Cup, it's 42.95 is the margin. 43 points is the average difference across 40 pool matches. That is nowhere near good enough. And in fact, it's more than last year there was a Rugby League World Cup. The average margin was 42.1 points in that. So actually a narrower, you might say more competitive pool stages in the Rugby League World Cup. And lastly, for me, the officiating. Now there was kind of scandal and sort of comical Keystone Cops type stuff coming into this with the Owen Farrell decision getting reversed, etc. And we've seen that continue. And then we've had some very questionable refereeing in a couple of games. And in particular, and I want you to look at a YouTube channel called TAS Analytics, TAS for Sam Analytics, that look at this, and also look at a missed head knock or 2 that went totally unpunished. But in the Wales-Fiji game, there were just many, many oversights that favoured Wales and that disadvantaged Fiji, and that was an English ref. And then in the last few days in the England-Samoa game, England managed to scrape home and win by a point while Samoa was a man down. There were also numerous questionable decisions, in that case by a Welsh ref. So these 2 nations, England and Wales, are neighbours. They're both in the home countries. They both form part of the British and Irish Lions. Why is Wales getting favourable decisions from an English ref and then England getting favourable decisions from a Welsh ref, both against small Pacific Island nations? Okay, this is something that World Rugby also needs to look at, I think, because there's probably economic bias at play here, amongst other things. Anyway, that's a massive can of worms. And now that I've popped the lid off of that, I'm going to sign off, but I'll come back later. But keep an eye out on TAS Analytics. They'll probably show some footage from the England-Samoa game. I've already got a couple of videos up on Wales-Fiji. Anyway, that's it for the Rugby World Cup. Look out next for my quarterfinal predictions, including the blockbuster Ireland v South Africa. Come on, the men in green. Till next time, catch you on the bottom of a ruck. See ya.